Hey y'all, Jedi Fuka here. We got a Dragonheir video today, and we're going to go over building your first few teams here in Dragonheir, what you should focus on. This is primarily going to be aimed at you guys who are barely starting in Season 1 that didn't play Season 0. But for you guys who played Season 0, I do appreciate your support. Maybe there's one trick at least in here that I can show you that I'm doing that you're probably doing anyways. But if you stick around, who knows, maybe you'll learn something. Real quick before we get started, I just want to do a quick announcement. My wife released a book on Amazon called How I Survived a Tsunami at 13, or sorry, it's called Surviving a Tsunami at 13. I'm going to put a link in the video here. It's a really impactful story. I really hope you guys will check it out, or if you know anyone who likes stories like that, if you would just share it with them. It's an intense story about how she survived the 2004 tsunami. She was on the beach when that thing hit, lost her family in that, and she managed to survive. It's a pretty amazing story. We appreciate the support. But now let's get into the video. So for you guys who have not played Dragonheir, you're just starting into Season 1, first time, you're going to check it out. You're going to get some free champs as you go along. Your first champion you're going to get is the Adventurer here, and I highly recommend to upgrade your Adventurer and focus on your Adventurer. This should probably be your main champ in Season 0. I use my Adventurer in all my teams from beginning to end game solid. So use your resources, keep this one upgraded. It's generally probably going to be your highest leveled one, unless you're well and you just get a bunch of legendaries pulled. Your skills you're going to automatically upgrade as you go through the story. So your adventure is just going to be good in general for that. And the other reason why your adventure is super important is because your adventure switch elements. Fire Adventurer is really good for nuking people, and it has an AoE hit that's really good. Ice Adventurer is really good at keeping shields up on your team to keep them alive, and the Lightning Adventurer stuns the enemy team, so it's really good for when you're fighting groups of enemies. The other thing with the Adventurer is the A1 hits hard, so no matter which one you're using, you're going to be getting good hits with it. Now, when you first get into the game, you're going to get a few free champions. On day 3, you're going to get Horus. So we're going to come in here so I can show you kind of some of the lineups. We're not actually going to do a fight, but just to set up some champions. But on day number 3, you're going to get Horus. Until day number 3 comes, you'll still get other tanks to take that place, like this guy here. You're going to get him for free, 4-bit. So I would recommend starting with 4-bit on day 3, switch him out for Horus. You're going to be able to reset them as long as you play within the first few days. You can reset champions. You'll have your Adventurer, and you're going to get Hexandra over here in the Poison as a healer. I recommend for any new player that's starting out, start with these 3 on day 3, switch him out with Horus, and that should be your core team to begin with, getting through the story. And they're all amazing champions. Last season I used all 3 of these all the way through endgame, plus whenever endgame comes, which is the final chapter of it, by the way. It's actually called endgame. You're going to get to a final chapter where you're farming out some stuff, and you need as many built teams as you can. So these guys are going to be good, and this season they all synergize together, where last season Poison and Fire did not synergize. Which is the next thing we need to talk about. We have our elemental affinities here, so you need to pay attention to this. You want at least 3 heroes of the same affinity to get these bonuses on your team. When you get to endgame, you want all 5 people on your team to be synergized. But to begin, you just want to focus on getting 3. And so you already have that here. Now, for the story mode, you need to focus on building 1 solid team to beat the story. For your other 2 characters, they can be anyone you want. You're going to get a few free ones that are decent. You can drop them in there. Doesn't matter who you do. My personal recommendation for your other 2 is to not use Fire Poison, but pick your next team you're going to do. So say you want to do Ice Necrotic and you have these 2 pulled. Do 2 Ice Necrotic for that team, or do 2, what's the other one, be Lightning Radiant. And then that way you already have a core for another team started, because you're going to need at least 2 teams during your story progression, which we'll get to here in a minute. So get your core team, start building them up, push the story. As you push the story, you're going to get lots of purple dice. I pulled all of mine at the very beginning of the season, and then today I had 68, which I just pulled. I meant to pull it for this video. I was recording this video and I messed up the audio, so I deleted that one and we're re-recording, so I don't have them anymore. But basically out of those like 60 dice, I pulled like 3 or 4 epics and tons of rares. So you'll get quite a few epics just from playing the story and getting the purple dice. And then the epics and rares in this game can easily get you through the story. Season 0, I didn't pull any gold dice. I saved them all for this season. So the legendaries you see in here, I didn't have. Eric I got for beating the story during Season 0. I pulled him from the horn, but I didn't pull him until we were almost done with the game. And I pulled him from the horn, and same thing, we were almost done with Season 0 when I pulled both of these, so I didn't use them a whole lot. So for the entire season, I was using no legendaries other than Eric after I got him in the story, which all of you guys will still be able to get from the event here. As you're building your teams, if you need help picking which champions you want to use, so say you get those 3 that we talked about, and then you need help with your other 2, pick out like a few that you think you might like, message me in the comments, and I will have no problem giving you my personal opinions on them. I played with a lot of these champs in Season 0, playing around with teams so I could build something, and I'll help you get some teams started. So anyways, getting back to it, we're going to get your core team belt, get them leveled up. As you get them leveled up, you're going to end up needing a second team because you're going to have to be able to farm. I recommend making your other 2 a setup for a core for another team. So during the main story play, your focus is to get 2 teams built up. That way you can get everything leveled up. So on the map here, I'll show you once you get through the story, you're going to unlock these areas. This purple diamond looking thing is going to be for lightning radiant heroes to farm shards for them. This one is going to be for ice necrotic. What going on with these is when you go to fight them, you need to get these shards, and there's points at each hero's level 30, 50, 70, and 90 that you have to break into the next star to keep leveling your heroes. When you come to the dungeon, whatever this dungeon is, that team is going to take extra damage and do less damage, so you can't use them. So for the ice one, if you're building a main team of ice and necrotic, you're going to need another team to farm this for you. For the first week of the game, roughly, you're going to have this active, the Clepsydra Torrent. As you level heroes up, you can drop them in here and you can rebuild them. So what I've done for my story is I built up my core team. This season I'm focusing on a frost team, so I built up a frost team. I got them all mostly to level 70, and what I do though is, like, when they hit 50, I reset them, then I go build my fire poison team, use my fire poison to farm frost. After I'm done farming the shards for that team, I reset the fire poison, rebuild my ice team, go keep pushing content. And then you can use your ice team or whichever one you're doing to other shards for your second team that you're building. Basically, you only need 2 teams, because if you have, say, a fire poison team as your core, which a lot of you probably will because of what the free champions are, your fire poison can farm either ice or the Tempest domain pretty easily, especially if you don't really have to pay attention to mechanics. You just build champions, you'll be able to take them down. You'll be able to worry about the mechanics later on when it gets a little bit harder, but initially you don't have to worry about it. So one team can farm 2 dungeons. You just can't farm the dungeon that they're from, so you need a backup team to farm that one. So you'll do that, you'll build up your 2 teams, and then as you continue going, you're going to unlock these dungeons that do artifacts. I have some videos on Season 0 how to beat them. When I get to it, I'll start making them here in Season 1 as well. I'm sure the strategies are probably the same, so if you go look those up, you'll see some easy free-to-play ways to get legendary. Grave of Venom is going to be your first legendary gear you're going to get to, probably your first epic gear as well. But basically, once you get your 2 core teams built, you'll go in these dungeons. You're going to need maybe a particular champion to help you with them. And then my recommendation would be for your next level up is to get the champions that you need to pass and progress in these dungeons. For Grave of Venom, if everything stayed the same, you're going to need a really good tank. And from the strategy that I used last season, if it's the same, he's the only one who takes damage. So you just need supports to keep him alive and someone doing damage to kill the boss. And then as you get on for The other two, Grave of Rot and Grave of Curse. Grave of Curse, you need someone to either take out the shield or reduce the damage the boss can do. Grave of Rot, you need someone to stop the boss from healing, or you need to be able to overpower him. And so you get your core champions to do those up. And then once you've leveled up your champs, you got some artifacts, and you start getting through the dungeons, then you can start focusing on just building up a solid team for each thing, and then you'll slowly build up to where you have multiple teams. This game is unlike other gacha games in that you, instead of leveling up one champion all the way to 100 and then focusing using them to drag each other one up, you have to level up a team of 5 and then level them together, because that's how you're going to be advancing in order to level them up, and you have to have a secondary team going as well. So you're going to actually be using these champions. The rares and epics are really good in this game. You can get through the story pretty easily with them. And like I said, if you post some things in the comments about who you pull and you're trying to work on teams, you're new to the game, let me know. I'll help you pick out which champions to use, because we've done all this. As you do the story, you're going to get lots of purple dice. Don't be afraid to use your purple dice. Gold dice, it's up to you if you want to hoard and do mass pulls, or you want to pull them as you go and try to get a legendary. Just so you know, the gold dice, the mercy is at 35. So it's not a bad idea to wait till you have 35 and then pull them. However, you also get epics. So if you just want to pull as you go and keep trying to get good champs to advance, of course, go for that. Do, whatever you enjoy doing on your pulls, definitely do that. But purple dice, don't be afraid to just pull them as you get them, because that's going to be your bread and butter as you first start, because you're going to want to get all the rares unlocked, which won't take very long, and you're going to start unlocking your epics through there. And that's how you're going to build out your teams initially, right? Season 0, I only pulled purple dice, and I made it all the way through endgame doing it, so you can definitely play this game free to play doing that. Any questions, post them in the video. Hopefully some of what I said made sense. For this thing, I would like to tell everyone, make sure that you set like a reminder for yourself or something. My personal recommendation is the last day that this is going on, every single hero that you have. That way you can focus and make sure you build the ones that you want to build for your solid team. So during your first week and you're playing, you grind out. Like I was showing you how to do those 2 teams, you can keep resetting them. That way for the other team, reset it, go back to your other team, farm it for the secondary team, vice versa, and that'll get you extra resources doing that. At the end of this, reset everyone, and then that will give you a chance to play with some of these champions, see how they work, pick out the ones that are working best for you, and then level up a really solid team and then a decent secondary team. That way you can keep pushing through once this is over. And then when this is over, basically you're going to be 2 solid teams pushing through your content as you start leveling up, getting other teams. And the end goal of this is to have as many people leveled up as you can, so when endgame comes around, you have tons of teams to run through the bosses and content on there, because you're gonna need them. Don't forget as you're doing it to make sure that you're synergizing your teams, because if you don't synergize them and get all these elemental affinity bonuses, you want to synergize them so that all of these are happening. You're going to have a harder time, especially, really in PvE and PvP, but especially in PvP, you're going to have people who are going to always synergize to a 5-person team. So you're going to be wanting to do the same, or you're going to have a hard time competing with them. And then I do in here is I pick out, okay, let's say we're going to do fire poison, because the free champions that come make a really good fire poison team. Well, then just focus on, when you get up here, focus on the ones that are for fire poison, right? Build up your fire poison attack, build up your fire poison, whatever it's going to be. And then once you get into the next one, go to fire poison, and then as you're unlocking those and you get all the ones for your main team, then go to your secondary team. Like, okay, my secondary team is going to be lightning radiance or whatever, then go level up those ones. And when you use this resource, it uses it up. I can tell you from season 0, when this ended, I had everything filled out. Then my third team, I had basically everything from here back filled out, and I was just a few things in the last section I didn't quite get enough to actually max this entire thing out for the whole season. So you want to focus on one team to begin with, and then go back and add your secondary team in here for your bonuses. But that's kind of an idea of how to use it. The main champion, like I said, you should be leveling is going to be your adventurer, because your adventurer slots into all of your teams. So when you're building those first 2 teams and you need them for, say, your ice, say you're building a fire poison for your main team, then for your adventurer, when you go to build your ice team, you can use 4 champions who synchronize with the ice necro, and then switch your adventurer over to ice and slot them into that team. So that's one less champion you have to build whenever you're doing your secondary team. And then also a good hint for that is when you're doing your adventurer, say your main team is fire poison, most of them are fire, and you're having a hard time getting fire shards. Well, instead of using fire shards for your adventurer, use your main team to farm up ice, switch your adventurer to ice, and then level your adventurer up as an ice champion where you have all the extra shards at. And then that way you're not using the fire shards that you need for the other champions that you're building. So it'll help you advance a lot quicker instead of having to level everyone up on the same shard type for your main team. So hopefully this video helps you guys out. I probably blabbered a lot. Maybe some of it doesn't make sense, but as you start playing, you'll kind of get the hang of it and see what I'm talking about. Like I said, as you start building your teams, those core free ones are going to get you through the story, get your purple dice, get you more champions. And if you have questions about those champions, let me know. We'll help you build some teams. If I don't have the answer, I got a clan full of people who probably do have a good answer for you, and we'll help you out with building it. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope y'all have a good day.